You know, what are y'all gonna do with Matt Ryan and or Julio Jones? Like, was a package deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if the fans asking about certain things, like how you include me in that space. So I text my agent. I'm like, hey, Atlanta's trying to trade me. He's like, no, da da da. We'll talk, whatever. Right? I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, we supposed to set up a Zoom call, right, with AB. Oh no, everybody want to meet
Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank. Oh, we want to meet in person. I'm like, all right. So what we gonna do? I'm asking them about the times, whatever. Oh no, not today. Okay, we're gonna do it tomorrow. Okay, 2 o'clock. All right, boom. We're gonna do it. Oh no, we're not gonna do it. Okay, I'm cool. Mind you, the whole season leading up to everything. So by me being there, you know, I had a hell of a coach in Mike Smith, but Dan Quinn was by far my best head coach in the league. He was a player's coach. Like even now, you see the success he had at the Cowboys.
Oh yeah.
You see what he's doing in Washington. Like you see what he did in Seattle. Like he's a hell of a coach. Like I know, you feel what I'm saying? So
and he had just got let go.
So the whole thing was though they was talking about firing Dan Quinn. And after the game, I had a speech with the team. I'm like, y'all can't. This not on this man. I'm seeing the locker room. I see how we are. Like I'm like, this is not on Dan Quinn. This on us. We got to fix this shit. So with that whole thing was they was trying to fire Dan Quinn, and I had pulled my hamstring, but I had the training staff, someone in training, they had burnt my hamstring. But I had like 30-degree burns on my hamstring, right? So you got to understand, they trying to fire the head coach, and I'm banged up. I'm like, I still took it upon myself to go play a game when I wasn't even 75% healthy.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get treatment on my hamstring. And y'all understand, like y'all pull a hamstring, if you don't know, like the ligaments scar down. If you can't get the massage, you can't get the proper treatment to it. So the whole time, my last year in Atlanta, it's like I'm fighting for this. I'm fighting for my head coach to be here. And then I'm already injured. I ain't saying nothing to the media. I'm not bringing nothing up. I'm not saying they did this to me. I ain't saying nothing about y'all, right?
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm just like, damn. And then all this coming at the end of the year talking about trade. I'm like, they talking about trading me? And what I'm doing, and y'all know what I'm doing. The training staff know what I'm doing. Every game, every whatever, what I'm sacrificing, what I'm doing for y'all. And we get to the point, I'm just like, damn, these niggas, they talking about trading me?
So this is just a clip from the interview that just came out with Julio Jones, Roddy Wright, Eric Douglas, and they're sitting down talking about, you know, the last days of them being with the Atlanta Falcons. And Julio brought up his grievances, basically saying that he couldn't get a sit down with Arthur Blank. He's saying that they burned his hamstring. I don't know how they did that, like how y'all burned him, man, hamstring. And, you know, the firing of Dan Quinn. All three of those things happening, which he says he felt like led to his departure from the Falcons. Okay. First of all, let it be known, we don't know none of these people personally. You feel me? All we know them as Falcons players. We fans of the logo, so naturally we gonna take up for the logo. The entire Arthur Blank thing about how you couldn't get a sit down with Arthur Blank, I don't know if I believe that. Now, like I said, I don't know Arthur Blank, but what I do know of Arthur Blank, of what I've heard from other people, is that he's a stand-up individual. He's always at the facilities. He's always around. If Kirk Cousins himself can get a sit down with Arthur Blank, why can't Julio Jones? I mean, literally, he gave Julio that contract when he still had 2 years left on his old one, if I'm correct, 2 or 3 years. So why couldn't you easily get a sit down with this man? Like, you don't have his phone number? You can't hit, like, I'm sorry, but like if I'm giving you $1 million, millions on millions, like you can hit my line for something if you need to talk to me about anything, right? So that's kind of odd that, you know, Arthur Blank didn't want to sit down with him. So I guess after trying so many times, Julio just gave up on it, and he was like, you know what, whatever. I don't even care no more. And then with the whole firing the Dan Quinn thing, like, I feel like Dan Quinn's tenure here, it wasn't a bad one, but I feel like at that time it was time to move on. It ran its course. And Julio's grievances with him is saying, well, he's a good coach. Why would you let him go? He's a player's coach. Of course, we know that Julio and, you know, Dan Quinn had a real close relationship and that he was a player's coach. But let's not act like Julio Jones didn't have certain privileges that other players had, which, you know, granted, he's been with the Falcons a very long time. So it's going to be certain things he'll probably sit out and not do. One of the grievances that Julio says that people were saying about him is that He don't practice. Now I could tell you as a Atlanta Falcons fan and somebody that's been following every training camp since I've been able to remember, Julio does practice, but Julio has special privileges, let's say, that other players didn't get. Julio wasn't always out there practicing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he will report, whatever. So I don't know. And the NFL, the word spreads around quick. And maybe when, Arthur Smith came in, he was just like, hey, you got to get out here and practice like everybody else. And maybe Julio wasn't feeling that. Say you working at a job, right? And you got a manager that's cool, right? He don't be tripping. He don't be on no funny stuff, whatever. He look out for you, he made the job easy for you. He make you want to show up and work. That favorite manager that you like is fired. So now you're like, well, who y'all bringing in? Now they bringing in this new dude. He don't know nothing. He got you doing crazy work. He put you on these crazy shifts and you like, bro, I hate dude. That's essentially what happened with Julio, right? Once Dan Quinn was gone, it was like, oh, so I don't get those special privileges that I once had anymore. Now I got to deal with this new regime that say I got to run by their rules. I don't think Julio was feeling that. Even with the entire Shannon Sharp thing where, he said he was blindsided by Shannon Sharp when Shannon Sharp called him. I don't even believe that. I'm sorry, but it's just not sitting right with me. I just don't believe that you didn't know that man was finna call you. And also, it was the way that Julio left Atlanta. Now, a lot of people, including myself, I felt like the way he left Atlanta was not good. I ain't appreciate the whole, man, I'm out of there. I ain't tripping, man. I'm good. Maybe this interview right here kind of bring a little bit more clarity to the situation. But for him to just be like, man, I'm out of there. Bruh, you been with us for how long and you out of there? Another thing I didn't like when he left, he gave like a paragraph. It wasn't even a paragraph, but he was just like, I like to thank the city of Atlanta. Woot, woot, now moving on to the Titans. And it was like, bro, that's it. We get a sentence in a paragraph. Okay, cool. At the end of the day, man, regardless of if Arthur Blank is to blame or Rich McKay or whoever was making the decisions at that time, this is a business, right? And if I, as a human being, make sure that you straight, your pocket straight, make sure you get the millions, make sure you get that new contract, why should I have to adhere to anybody's demands? You understand? Like, I'm laying it out for you on the table. You got everything that you need. Why is it beef with me in my organization? Just speaking, if I'm Arthur Blank, that's how I'm looking at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, sure, we can catch feelings about, oh, well, y'all didn't do this. At the end of the day, this is a business. And if you're not a part of the program, then we have to remove you from the program, right? I love Grady Jarrett, but it was obvious that the contract talks broke down and he had to go. I hate to see him go, but at the end of the day, what am I a fan of? It's the logo right here, bro. It's the logo. You feel me? So, waiting this long to come out with all this information, it just seems like he's trying to control the narrative a little bit. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to get back like in the good graces of the Falcons. Maybe he's trying to like reconnect that relationship. I'm pretty sure that y'all saw Michael Vick was out at the practice facilities today. He was out there just working with people, and it would be dope to see Julio out there. You feel me? But I feel like the way he left Atlanta, it felt like it's all about me versus really for the city. You know what I mean? Because even looking in them last days Julio was here, Julio looked completely dejected on the sideline. And you got to think too, it's not like the trade came out of nowhere, because they had to know something, because in the draft, they drafted Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was a direct replacement for Julio Jones. You needed that downfield receiver, somebody that Matt Ryan could get the ball to, and we traded for Kyle Pitts. That's why I'm not mad at the Kyle Pitts trade, because it was one that was made out of necessity rather than want. And of course, you saw what Kyle Pitts went on to do his rookie season, right? Exactly. I don't hate Julio. You feel me? Julio gonna always be Atlanta Falcons legend, but I just felt like the way he left the city, and not really a formal apology to the fans, how he left. I think that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. And people are saying, oh, well, they owe him this, they owe him that. Bruh, we made you a millionaire, right? You get to live out the rest of your life with money playing a children's game. And trust me, I've heard the stories of the Smiths. I'm not even old enough to even know how it was back in the day when they owned the team. So when I hear about how they are, and then how Arthur Blank has like pretty much taken the team and he's trying his best to get us to a point where we're like consistent winners, I just don't see that being a part of his character, to just be like, nah, I don't want to talk to Julio. But yeah, man, I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't believe that Arthur Blank would do that. I think Julio left because Julio could not get his way. You feel me? It's like I said, it's like that big change at a job. You like, man, what's up with all these new managers and stuff? It's like, bro, it's a new way. You like, man, I ain't having this. I'm out. You feel me? And that's essentially what happened. But just throwing the blame on the Falcons organization, are they perfect? No, absolutely not. But throwing the complete blame on them, I'm just not buying it. But yeah, man, it's the Kid Ríez. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, make sure y'all be safe, stay carefree, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.